This could be good for me. Lately I was feeling like I need a purpose.
Like I've tried my hands on it, and I'm really passionate about it. I'm intrigued with this idea of living in the moment. I've never really felt that adrenaline rush in me, uh, other than clowning. Even if like I've tried my hands in acting or any other thing, but clowning is something I'm really passionate. Yet I feel that I'm unprepared and I'm petrified of it by the nuances of the physical body which it requires. So it's really a synchronization of mind, body, soul. So why don't you just share some, inner world of a clown, basically, off a performance and on, of course, during the performance, but what goes inside the mind all the time? Like you start behaving your, usual daily chores also into that physicality, or how is it like?
Wow, the inner world of a clown. Who knows where to start? Um, so I agree with you. What I love about clowning too is that being in the moment and being in the difficulty, of not knowing what will happen and being ready to not know and still be there. And so for me, I think that one of the things that I think is so wonderful in clowning, uh, which can fuel our work in social justice, is this idea that we are connecting deeply with our humanity, with our vulnerability, with the idea that we are not in control of everything, but that we can respond and turn what could be a weakness or a problem into a strength, and we can transform situations from difficult, problematic ones, from uncertainty, into something which brings joy and which brings something constructive. Um, and so for me, that's kind of one of the heart of clowning. And for me, it's something that I think is so beautiful because it hits on so many levels. It can help us in our work in social justice. It can help us understand ourselves as human beings, and create empathy and compassion for each other and for ourselves. And it helps us to explore different themes, and it helps us a lot as performers in whatever realm of performance we want to go to, because it requires us to be listening and open and ready always, and of course improvisation, which is a key skill for any performer, is at the heart of clowning too. So I think that clowning has so many different aspects that it can lend itself to, and I find it appearing in so many aspects of life. So yes, sometimes I think it has helped me to be the person that I am in interacting with people day to day. That when you just pop into the shop and you're chatting with the shopkeeper, just having those day to day interactions when we remember that we are human beings, and whatever somebody's role, we are not kind of falling into the mechanization of, oh, that's just the person who serves me in the shop. No, let's have a human interaction. Let's actually appreciate the moment of exchanging with another human being and learning from that person, or just, making somebody feel good about their day. And so I think that it finds itself in those simple, small moments of everyday life, and finding the joy, finding the fun in those moments, and also fueling us in moments of difficulty and challenge. To be ready for the challenges, to be ready for the moments of difficulty, which will come at some point for all of us, um, and and also then, yeah, in terms of social justice, the kind of problem solving, the resilience, because it takes a lot of energy and resilience to be engaged in that work. And so again, if we can find ways to keep it fun and creative, then it helps to fuel and give energy to that work.
Sure.
So yeah, for sure, I find it happens in everyday life as well as a performer. It has given me a lot, and sometimes it's not always in the form of the red nose clown. It can find its way in lots of different aspects. It's not always so formalized. Even when it is, it's great fun, but also sometimes it's more subtle, and maybe people wouldn't even realize it's clowning, but when you know, you know.
Yeah. So, Rosa, you said something about improvisation. So, how close or how distant clowning is from improv theater? In a nutshell, and briefly, you can tell us about it.
Hmm. I mean, I would say that the two are very close and interwoven. And for me, the difference with clowning is that with clowning, we have this direct relationship often with our audience. And that's one of the aspects of clowning that I really love and enjoy, in that it allows us to kind of break rules all the time. So in some traditional theatre, there can be this idea that there's this fourth wall, that we are creating this world, but it's happening over here amongst us actors, and that the audience are passive and they're just there to watch and experience and maybe empathize and all of the rest, but really it's a more passive role. And I have always enjoyed theatre which really acknowledges the unique moment that we are in when we are in the theatre, which is the big difference between cinema, for example, or TV or something, you know, that when we are in the theatre or in a theatrical moment, it is about here and now. And it will be different every time because the people and the environment and the energy of that day will be different. And that's what I really love about theatre, and the feedback and that two-way process that happens in theatre. So for me, the epitome of that is that ability to speak directly with an audience, to interact directly with an audience and respond to an audience that we get with clowning. And there's that direct level, that honesty that happens with an audience and with clowning. And again, there's that kind of human challenge to that, which is it has to be very honest in a way that if the audience are not with you or they're not laughing, as a clown, you have to be able to accept that and acknowledge that, you know. And again, it's kind of like, what can you do with that? How can you transform that moment and take it somewhere else? But it really only works if you have that connection with an audience. So it's both the thing that is scary about clowning, because you never know what is going to happen and how an audience.
I'm scared.
Right, like how an audience is going to respond and what they're going to bring. But for me, it's what is one of my most favorite things, is that moment of not knowing and being ready and just trying to be there. So another thing that I think is so wonderful with clown is that, I mean, there are so many different kinds of clown, of course, but that generally the clown has that readiness, and the clown kind of has an unending reservoir of positivity. You know, even if we have a clown who is feeling sad or, you know, frustrated or angry, they still persevere no matter what, you know. So there is this idea for me about that kind of positivity, that willingness to be in the here and now and to fully commit to it, which I think, again, is wonderful from a performance point of view and from a human point of view, just for ourselves as human beings.
Right. Absolutely. So, Rosa, what about clown doctor? So, tell us about, like, I would like to know all the details. There are doctors, medical doctors I've heard, academic doctors, you know, I've heard, but clown doctor is a new term.
So we are doctors who don't have much medical training at all. But we go together into hospital. Usually we work in pairs, and we often are given specific referrals for children to visit. We are normally working on the pediatrics wards of hospitals, the children's wards. Although sometimes recently there have been some pilot projects in older people's accommodation, so older people's homes, as well as recently some of my colleagues have begun working in a hospice. So that's with children, but children who are now going through palliative care. And so it's not so much a performance, it's much more a meeting, an encounter, and a playful experiment. Every time we meet a child, we don't know exactly what is going to happen. We have a bag of tricks with us, which when I say tricks, I mean just objects and toys or maybe magic tricks that might bring something to the encounter. And we wear our red nose. We may be dressed in slightly unusual clothes, but we are not generally in the Northeast, our clown doctor style here in the Northeast. We don't tend to kind of have the big painted face and the big hair and shoes of the more traditional circus clown. It's a more contemporary kind of style of clowning. Right. But we do wear our red noses, and we wear a white doctor coat, which has the word clown doctor written on the back, and we have our name, our clown doctor name here too. So my clown doctor name is Dr. Poppy Sneezertoff.
Oh,
and I have many other lovely clown doctor colleagues. And so, yeah, we get referred specific children to work with. And those referrals are often based on a number of different factors. So it may be that there is a child who has been in hospital long term, and perhaps they really need some different kinds of social interaction and creative, playful interaction, because it's almost like they're becoming a bit institutionalized. They may be just very bored. Maybe their mental health is starting to deteriorate as a result of being hospitalized, being cut off from other children, not having access to being in school, or and the pressures of being unwell and in hospital. And for their parents and their family members too, of course, there is often a lot of pressure and stress in those situations. In other cases, it may be something quite specific. So it may be that a child is going for a particular procedure or surgical procedure. They may be quite anxious. So it may be that the staff would like us to go and work with that child to maybe reduce some of that anxiety, distract them a little bit from this thing that is coming. Sometimes we work with the physiotherapists, and we can support the work that they're doing with the child to encourage the child to move or do certain things that it's more fun if it's playful, and there's a playful reason to do something rather than just I have to do this because it's an exercise. Right. And so the physio teams and us, we work quite closely sometimes together, and they are great anyway. I mean, they're all very playful in the pediatrics physio side anyway, but they just appreciate having this different energy that comes in when we arrive, and we can be very silly in a way that maybe the medical staff are not always allowed to be because they're supposed to be
in a different
serious, Yeah.
Lovely. So just out of my curiosity and for the Indian audience, is there any particular certification for this, or basically how to approach hospitals that yes, this is something we can provide you or we cater to?
So there are clown doctor programs that I'm aware of in lots of different parts of the world. In the UK, there are a couple of other places where they have clown doctors, but in the Northeast, we were the first clown doctors, and our program began, I think it's about 14 years ago now. We were the first clown doctors starting 14 years ago. And at the time, there was a kind of meeting between the arts side and the health side. So the Arts Council in our area proposed this idea to work with some of the health professionals and look together at how could this work for the Northeast? How could we bring a clown doctor program to the Northeast? And so a couple of workshops were put together where also clown doctors from other parts of the country. So some of our colleagues in Edinburgh came to show a bit what does clown doctoring look like and what are the benefits of clown doctoring. And from that, there was an organisation commissioned to coordinate the program and to do all of the administrative aspects and find funding, work on the resourcing of the program and all of that. And also to do that organisation here is an organisation called Tin Arts. They do a lot of work, especially using dance and working with people with learning disabilities. Mm-hmm. And the Clown Doctor program is a distinct program of work within their organisation. So initially, we did some training all together. The new Clown Doctor cohort did some training with experienced clowns, people who run clown training. We all came from different artistic backgrounds. So among us, there are people who have musical skills. There are people who have circus skills. There are people who have magic skills. There are people who have street theatre backgrounds. We have creative writers and also an amazing puppeteer.
Lovely,
yeah. And so it's a range of different backgrounds. And yeah, then it's just kind of how can we bring our skills and our strengths together and develop a common language, a shared understanding of what our clown doctors are. I don't think there is a particular certification for being a clown doctor, not that I'm aware of. So some people will go through clown training, and for other people, it's more just how do we do this in our place? So, whatever is useful in your context, I think is the key.
Right.
And of course, to build a close relationship with the health professionals, that's really important, because if they buy in and they are really convinced of the benefits of the work, then it makes everything so much easier, because they really understand what it is we bring to their environment, and they see us as one of their tools. They see us as a tool within the recovery or the health process of working with those children. If you have staff who don't quite understand, you can see that sometimes there is a judgment. Oh, why are these people here? If this is silly, this is not serious. it's in the way, or it may they have maybe negative associations. So it's really important to develop that close relationship with the hospital staff so that they understand what we do, they understand what the benefits are, and they understand also which children particularly can benefit from working with us, and all of the different ways that we can be used within that hospital setting.
Mm.